Ascolese, the inventress. I'm the CEO and founder of Inventing A to Z, AOE, Inventor Spotlight TV, and here on the Inventress podcast. And super excited because I have a very fascinating guest and who's going to share a lot about insurance coverage and everything that we all need in business. Welcome, Gilda Healy, Healy Brokerage. Yay! How are you?
Good afternoon, Lisa. I'm doing well. A double-digit year like 2022 is proving to be very lucky and very fortunate. People have come to know me through the business. And as a matter of fact, we share a colleague. We share a couple of them, but one we shared that brought me to you in the first place is Kathleen Ettinger. She's now in Massachusetts, and she has remained with me for her insurances, and we're working on right now her cyber liability. If you have a presence on the internet, you have got to be protected.
Is that right? So Kathleen Ettinger, my tea lady, long history together. She's an amazing woman, and just love what she does and love what she provides. Tea is very soothing to the soul. So I thank Kathleen for making that introduction at her beautiful shop that she had. Now it's, oh geez, it's how many years now that it's no longer there. So, and certainly miss it. Beautiful space. And that is exactly where we met, in that incredible space in Middletown, right? I think that's what the town is. And so again, welcome. And yes, I want to hear all about the cyber. We need cyber coverage, but back up a little bit, because you cover every type, almost, well, you're in New York and you're here in New Jersey, but I think you're nationwide, but you'll clarify that. And the type of coverages you talked about, of course, I read about you and I listen to what you say. And it's certainly something that opens up your mind. To all of you inventors and entrepreneurs out there, you really have to listen to what Gilda has to say, especially if I stop talking, right? If I stop talking and let Gilda talk, this would be amazing. So let's talk about your business. You've been doing insurance for over 30 years, and you started this business with your husband, Michael, in 2014, which is relatively new. So let's talk about that, Gilda.
Okay, well, first of all, as of 2022, I've been in the insurance business 44 years.
My gosh.
That's a lifetime.
It really is. Couple.
And when I started, I thought, well, I'm just going to do this for a year and I'll find something else. That was 44 years ago, and I'm still doing it. And I worked in both the property side, which is, buildings, homes, business contents, that kind of thing. And then I went towards the casualty side, which is where the money is. Because liability is an expensive proposition, and it's got a lot of shades of gray. So you have to be careful who and how much you cover. Auto insurance, I've done both New York and New Jersey. New Jersey is worse than New York ever was.
Really?
It is. It's much more expensive. And the insurance companies are getting more and more picky about what they will offer and what they won't offer, and who they'll insure and who they don't insure. For example, in your household, if you have a good driving record, good. But if the person you live with has a lousy driving record, it has an impact on your home, your personal auto policy is the point.
Now, is that because there's a possibility of this person driving your vehicle?
That's part of it. And the other part of it is the database where they find the driver information points that out, that this driver is okay, but this other one has a lousy driving record. They have all kinds of points on their license for driving under the influence. Accidents every other week, and people come to me and say, well, I want to save money. Well,
right.
Okay. I want a bundle because television says you can do that.
Sure.
Television is
It sure
Hollywood.
does. Bundle your home and auto.
It's Hollywood. It doesn't live in your house,
Uh-huh.
doesn't run your business, nor does it drive your car.
Right.
Who was driving your car when you failed to stop at the stop sign? The camera overhead took a picture of your license plate. Who was driving? And then they get quiet because now I got you. I got you, you know.
Yes.
Business and commercial insurance. I have real estate investors as clients.
Mhm.
Well, why do they want to value my building at $2 million? Well, it has a cap on it and it keeps increasing the value on the building. It costs more to
Mhm.
replace something if it's damaged, or God forbid it burns down to the ground.
Mhm.
But I can replace it for less. Well, if you can, show me. Show me. I also do insurance for artwork, jewelry. We do one-day event policies. And I met a client that way who led me to 5 new pieces of business 2 years ago.
This was at an event.
It was a policy I got for them for a one-day event
Uh-huh.
up at Hackensack Performing Arts.
This is so interesting. And it's so interesting because I mean, you cover such a broad base, and I don't think most people know that. I mean, does everybody do what you do? Do brokers typically do what you do? I mean, you're covering jewelry, auto, art, artwork. And I love that you're talking about all of these features, because this is everybody. This is everybody listening to this podcast. You know, you're a liability insurance. You talked about cyber. I mean, all of these things. So is this called liability insurance? What you're covering?
Liability is not just auto.
Uh-huh.
Liability, and a lot of people don't know this, I also do workers' comp. So if you have people work for you, you do have to cover them for injury on the job. Did you know that it also covers the employer in case they are sued by an employee for injury on the job?
I did not know that.
Nobody knows that. And I did a talk for the Monmouth Regional Chamber, you know, tips and tricks in insurance, the stuff people don't know. Do you
Yes.
know that your homeowner's insurance covers for injury to somebody that comes in to do repair, the TV repair guy, the computer repair guy, the refrigerator repair guy? Your policy covers them.
Automatically? Is it
Yes,
automatic? How do we know these things?
because it shows on your policy where it lists all the forms and it'll say workers' compensation insurance. It's just designed to cover somebody for the one day. Now, if they're a plumber, an electrician, you know, the computer guy, the air conditioner guy, the refrigerator guy, they should have their own insurance if they're going to be doing more than just a one-day job for you.
Right. I would hope so, yes. So, but
Yeah,
that's not always the case.
That's where you got to be careful.
Right.
Now, if they just work for you one day, they got hurt, you file a claim and they pay the claim. But if he's working for you more than one day, weeks at a time, he should have his own insurance that covers him and the people who work for him. And that's when you work for somebody, you should expect to be covered for that. Now, if you're just working as an independent, like an independent contractor, be careful, because the people you work for now can be held responsible for injuries you have on the job. Or this is where the trouble comes in with the health insurer. You know, you sprained a wrist, you broke a shoulder, God forbid, a hip, a leg, anything like that.
Right.
Those things can be covered by your own personal health insurance. But if it happened on the job, the employer should pick up the tab. You were working for them on their behalf, so they should take care of you for that.
Yes. Yeah. No, that makes a lot of sense. And there's something weighing heavily in my brain that I had to ask you. As soon as I knew that we were going to have this interview, I said, I want to ask about if someone comes into your home, contractor comes into your home and ruins your countertop. Say they put, I don't know, paint or lacquer thinner or whatever it is on your countertop and ruins your counter, what kind of insurance is that they should have to cover your damaged property that they caused?
That would be a liability policy that they would buy from somebody like me.
Right.
They
And
would
what's that
buy,
called? What is that insurance called? I know there's a name for it, because when contractors go out to big jobs, most companies will say, do you have, and it escapes me the name of the insurance. Isn't there a specific name for that type of insurance that they're covered under?
yes, it is. It's called Contractors General Liability Insurance.
Oh, contractors, okay.
It's a special class of business that covers people that do that kind of work. You put the can of lacquer on your countertop and say it's, it's imported marble from, Rome or something, and
Yes.
damaged the stone or whatever. I mean, yes. Oh,
So they have-
absolutely. Absolutely. There's another tip I'd like to pass on to our listeners today.
Sure.
When you rent a car,
Mm-hmm.
fly to Florida, California, Arizona, anywhere in the world,
Right.
in the United States particularly, and you rent a car, always purchase the collision damage waiver. Your personal auto liability coverage would cover you for the liability, and just check with each insurance carrier.
Right.
They do that now. But if you purchase it and it's anywhere from $25 to $50 a day for the collision damage waiver,
Mm-hmm.
it will save you in the event a hit and run, somebody hits you in the rear and takes off.
So,
Or as
okay, so
happened,
I'm sorry to interrupt, but wait a second. So now this is always something a question in my head. I always think they're just trying to sell you more. They're just trying to sell you more. And this is great information, because I always say, well, you know what? I have insurance coverage. I have insurance on my car. I mean, I have auto insurance, because they always ask for your insurance information.
Mhm.
So I figured, well, I'm covered because it's a policy that I purchased, right? So I assume that I'm being covered when I'm renting a car. So that doesn't, what you're saying is, if there is, God forbid, a hit and run, that my insurance does not cover that. And what about there? I'm asking you two questions. So my insurance doesn't cover it, correct? Nor does their insurance?
Here's
The rental?
a hit and run would be
Mhm.
covered by your policy. It's called uninsured motorist. That's what it covers.
Okay.
Uninsured motorist, and it's right under the liability coverage on your policy.
For a rental car.
It should extend itself to vehicles you rent.
Mhm.
Not every insurance company provides that. So before you go away, just check with whoever your insurance company is. Will you cover me for the liability portion? Check with them.
That's
Almost everybody does.
Mm-hmm.
Almost everybody does. Not everybody does. Our policy, our auto policy covers us when we rent a car, but it doesn't cover physical damage. That's why when you rent a car, you purchase the collision damage waiver.
Okay.
Okay, you went in the restaurant to eat, somebody opened the door and hit your wing mirror and knocked it off. You don't know who did it. And we had that experience some 24 years ago. We went out to Oregon for our nephew's christening,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't shovel the streets in Oregon in the winter.
Okay.
We were there in February. We can tell you firsthand, they don't clear the street.
You were staying there until
We were there. And in the morning that we were going to leave, my husband's parents had the room next to us, and they brought us some luggage for us to check through for them. Okay, fine. We get in the car and we go to the airport, and we find that the wing mirror had been hit and was just hanging. We pull up, the guy looks at us, he looks at the damage, he looked at the insurance we purchased, and he said, you're covered for this because we purchased that collision damage waiver. It didn't cost us a thing. Have a good flight. And that's another adventure, because at the part of Oregon, which was Klamath Falls,
Oh, I've been there.
you
I've
can't
been to Klamath Falls.
get there from here. So, you fly from there to Portland.
Yes.
Portland, they sent us to Seattle, Tacoma,
Mm-hmm.
and then from Seattle to Detroit, and then Detroit to Newark.
It's not a straight road. Yes, not a straight flight.
It's not a straight, and it was a lot of fun because my in-laws went up to Medford, Oregon to get the flight.
Mm-hmm.
They never made it to Seattle, Tacoma. They never got on the plane with us. So nobody had cell phones. So when we landed in Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
called my husband's sister who lived in Klamath Falls and said, Mom and Dad called. The flight never made it to Seattle or Detroit. They're going to be on whatever flight it was from, I think it was Minneapolis.
Mm-hmm.
God knows. And they're going to land in Newark at 2:00 in the morning. And we said, no way can they handle all their luggage.
Right.
So we waited for them and their luggage and came home. So, but the point of that whole story is, and I told my mother and father-in-law, buy the collision damage waiver. You don't know, especially they don't clean the streets here. And
Right.
we saw it happen.
That's crazy. So this is where you come in. You are a wealth of knowledge and information, and so appreciate that you're giving us all these tips. So I want to keep on saying your name and your company, because people are listening constantly, new people listening over and over again. So it's Healy Brokerage, right?
That's right.
And what is your website?
www.Healy, Healy, brokerage.com. I spell the name because there are a couple of ways of spelling Healy.
Yes.
If you don't spell it the way I just did, you won't find us. You will see our pictures on it. Our picture will come right up on the first page, and it will tell you about the owners, which is my husband and I. I
Great
also,
website, by the way.
I also hold a master's degree in museum professions. That's where the art part comes in.
Seton Hall University.
See, that's right, Seton Hall. And I got to serve as the director of the Meadowlands Museum in Rutherford. And because I came from that Seton Hall academic background, it shook a lot of people up.
Mm-hmm.
You can't take that home to work with. No, you can. It belongs to the museum. And if something happens to it while it's in your possession, you are going to pay for it, not the museum. They didn't like that, but that's how it is. Because of my insurance background, I have developed a disaster recovery plan. I have a plan that's copyrighted, and it's been put into effect for 2 museums.
Congratulations.
One for the Trenton City Museum,
Uh-huh.
and one for the National Guard Museum in Seagirt. In Superstorm Sandy, I was unemployed, so I used my insurance and my museum knowledge to assist with the recovery of Superstorm Sandy. She destroyed a lot of the museum and its contents. So we worked with wet textiles and wet books and so on. And at the time, I was a trustee. And the curator, who was a newly appointed captain at the time, came to me and said, let's do this disaster recovery thing.
I love it.
So here's how it worked. This will make you laugh.
Okay.
Me and my plan, a newly appointed captain who is now a major. He went right up the line, and my lentil soup. The human element. And it was the soup that we were eating while we worked on the plan together because
It
he
was the
knew.
lentil, wait, so it was the lentil soup that brought the magic. I love it. I gotta have some of that soup. I'm usually a split pea soup girl, but I'm switching. I need your lentils.
My
'Cause I
lentil
need some of
soup.
that magic. I remember you talking about this plan when we were at the tea shop, actually. You were
That's right.
talking about, and what's the name of the plan again? Recovery?
Disaster recovery.
Disaster recovery.
It's a disaster recovery plan, and it's all about really, it's focused on New Jersey because here we get a lot of water damage. So I talk about, how to recover from it, what to do, how to dry things out, and throw away what you can't fix. So I for Superstorm Sandy,
Uh-huh.
um, through Monmouth University here, I did an interview about my disaster recovery work for the National Guard Museum. I am part of a poster exhibition at Monmouth University for the work I did for the National Guard Museum. And I was given a citation of meritorious service and a medal.
That's a big deal. Congratulations. That's giant, Gilda. It
Yeah.
really is.
And
Fantastic. And you're a woman, you're a powerhouse. You make stuff happen.
thank you for the
You do.
compliment. And I also did for the Monmouth County Clerk's Office on the 20th anniversary of 9/11, of which I am a survivor.
Oh my goodness gracious.
I did
Mhm.
a documentary film. I thought it was just going to be an interview. It's a documentary film. I'm the first person you meet in the film. And I tell you what happened that day because I worked in Tower 2 and what I saw from the window. And I told the interviewer that I saw the plane go through Tower 1.
Way.
And I was
No
told
way.
to evacuate. I grabbed my pocketbook, went right down the stairs, didn't even give it a second thought.
Good for you.
I made it to the 15th floor. I was told to go back to my desk, and I told Port Authority by sign language what I wasn't going to do. And I wasn't going back up there by myself. Got on the elevator and made it to the main concourse. And when I got to the main concourse, a young fireman said to me, "Lady, don't come out here," because I had open-toed shoes. It was a warm day. And he said, "Look over there." And what I saw was falling debris from Tower 1. So I said, "Well, I'm not doing this." I ran through the concourse. Every store was open. I could have robbed every store on the way out, but I didn't think of that. I just ran. And when I came out of Tower 5, which was the safest way out, a big piece of glass from Tower 2 fell this close to me.
Oh my gosh.
And I just looked up. I said, "Oh," and I won't repeat the expletive. It starts with S, OS, and took off. I headed right up Fulton Street. I knew.
So I have to ask you, so the guy who said, "Don't come out here, get open toe shoes on," the alternative was, weren't you going out of the building? Weren't you on your way out of the building?
Yes.
And he said, "Don't come out." So what did he expect you to do? Go back in? I mean,
No, what he expected me to do was go through the concourse and go out one of the other exits.
Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. How scary. What a scary, scary time.
And as he said that,
Thinking about it.
as he said that, Tower 2 was hit. And I felt the ground shake under my feet. And I said, "Okay, we're not going this way, we're going that way." And that's how I got out.
So now, to circle back to the way you started this business in 2014, did that have an impact on how and when you started your business?
Absolutely. Because right after that, I said, I can't work in New York anymore. I don't care how much money they pay me. My sanity is more important.
Yes.
And that day I took care of some very, important comfort stuff. I said, well, I can't go back there. I got to go in the opposite direction, which is common sense.
Yes.
So I headed right to Mrs. Fields Cookies.
Listen.
I needed that's going to fix it.
Yes. Well, in that moment, there was, I'm sure there's a lot more after that that needed to be fixed. I mean, for so many people, you were there, you experienced it firsthand. I mean, I'm sure you had to relive that over and over again.
Yes,
you know,
I have.
and to be able to go back to that and see the disaster. So going back again to, I know you said you've been in the insurance business for over 40 years, 44 plus years, and you then started again after 9/11.
Mhm.
So how did you immediately start? What did you start with in 2014? What type of coverage? Did you say, I want to cover all areas of homeowners, car insurance, workman's compensation? Where did you start and how? That's a lot. You're covering a lot, a whole lot in a very in your relatively small company, right? You own this business. This is not.
Right. What happened was I stopped working in New York, and the last position I took in New Jersey was in Bayonne, New Jersey. And I met this man who became our first client. I met him because he had purchased a building. He needed the insurance, which we got for him. He had to bring me the money for the premium, and he financed the premium. And I said, well, you have to make the down payment, and every month you're going to pay so much, whatever it was. And he liked what I had to tell him. Okay, I'm doing my job. I don't know. From that moment on, Lisa, he would call me periodically. He opened a restaurant in the building I got him the insurance for, and I got him the insurance for the restaurant because in my career, I did that kind of insurance. And the first thing I said is, if you are serving liquor, you need liquor liability. It's not required here in New Jersey, but if you're the last stop of the night and somebody goes out and kills another person with their vehicle because they're under the influence, you're the first one dragged into court.
Isn't that something?
You listened to me, and we went through it. And from at that point, I had not finished my master's at Seton Hall. I had not. He didn't even know what I was up to. By the time he opened the restaurant, I had completed my master's thesis, which was about disaster recovery. And from there, I developed my own plan. And so he had no idea what I was up to. And I called him one day to talk to him about something. And I said, listen, I'm not going to be here every day. I'm going to be gone 2 days a week. And he went, oh, I said, don't worry. I don't leave yet. I said, and there's nothing wrong, but I cannot tell you what I'm doing. It's something else I have permission to do. It was my internship, but I couldn't tell him that. They asked me not to, and I respected it.
Of course.
So I finished the internship, and the people I worked for were very shocked. I said, yeah, I've been doing this all this time, and I kept quiet because there's nothing to tell you.
Right.
So I went and did the internship, and when my last day, they sent me it was at Christmas time, they sent me a beautiful Christmas centerpiece for my home and wished me luck.
Oh, that's lovely.
And then a few weeks later, they downsized. I was because I was the last hired. So I went and I said, well, I'm not going to bury my head in the sand. I'm going to move on, which I did. And this man that I talked about, I called him. I said, I need a reference to find a job. Can I use your name? He said, you know what? I need help in the office. So I worked for him for a short time.
So wait, so I have to interrupt you. So you provided his first insurance, right? He opened the restaurant, and then were you able to provide that liability insurance, the liquor license for his, well, he didn't need a liquor license, but
Yes,
so what type of insurance did you provide for him to cover him in the event?
Well, fire insurance for the contents of the restaurant, liability insurance for the premises, people and liquor liability. And of the three, the liquor liability was more expensive because it covers a bigger hazard.
But is
And
that a liquor license? Is it a liquor license or is it a license for people to drink alcohol in his establishment?
the restaurant owner buys his own license through the state.
I see.
Okay. But I covered him for liability insurance. You serve somebody that you knew was already intoxicated, and that person went out and injured other people. I had a client like that years before I went into business that was part of the Jack Daniels. Everybody knows them. And the company I worked for handled one of the layers of insurance for them. They had like 7 different layers.
Mm.
And there was a claim filed against Jack Daniels against an employee who had too much to drink
At a bar?
No, at the company Christmas party.
Oh, so it was Jack Daniel's party where the person got intoxicated. Holy cow. And they were able to sue Jack Daniels.
The people, the families of the deceased sued Jack Daniels for the injuries that these 5
Well,
people.
because that's how it happened. So with this gentleman with the restaurant, I'm assuming that this guy now, you not only did you start working for him, so now you've covered him in every aspect of his business, right? So now you've covered him for his restaurant and for liability for him and anybody drinking alcohol and going out and getting hurt. That's incredible. And anybody, and there are restaurant owners listening right now. So you people who do not have liability insurance, you need to call Gilda Healy, Healy Brokerage, because you're going to get the best protection, the best coverage from homeowners to car liability, to building liability, any I guess intellectual property you own, you cover. So please, Gilda, one more time, give your website. If you're on any social media platform, please share that. Everybody needs, and we need to set up a real, one-on-one conversation meeting to talk about this type of coverage, especially, workman's compensation and everything. But before we wrap, again, please give us your website, any social media handles that you have, so these folks can contact you.
It's my website. Once again, it's www.healybrokerage.com. We also do for the professions, accountants, lawyers. I have a few of them as clients, and I can tell you lawyers are very tough people to deal with. They really read the fine print, so you have to be knowledgeable so that you can explain it to them. We are also on Facebook, healybrokerage.com. I am on Facebook and on my own page, but on our Healy Brokerage Facebook page are 2 videos that we did. One is about personal insurance and one is about commercial insurance. And I'm going to brag a little bit, 2 things. The film I did for 9/11 for the Monmouth County Clerk is now part of the archives at Monmouth University.
Oh my gosh.
And the director of the film won a New York Emmy.
That's amazing. That's absolutely incredible that we can see this. Can we see this?
Yes.
On your website or on social media?
No, you can see what I just told you. It's Monmouth County Clerk's office.
Okay.
And on YouTube, it's YouTube Monmouth County Clerk.
YouTube Monmouth County Clerk.
And then there's a link there that says Monmouth County 9/11 and the aftermath.
Well, you are one of the most interesting people. We're not going to talk about your brownies right now because we don't have time for that. That's the next. That's the next. I can taste them right now. Look, between the soup and the brownies, we got something going on here. This is a food show the next time. Gilda, it's been amazing having you on. Thank you so much for this incredible conversation. You, as I said, you're a wealth of knowledge and information. Anybody out there who needs any kind of insurance coverage, please reach out to Gilda Healy, Healy Brokerage Firm, and get your insurance coverage on. Gilda, again, a pleasure. Please come back. Love speaking with you, and let's do it again real soon.
That would be very, very welcome. And as I said, through the Monmouth County Clerk and Monmouth University, there, I'm also going to put the link to the interview I just did about Superstorm Sandy, because there were two parts of it that makes everybody smile. One is the lentil soup, and the other is my husband and I got an invitation from his sister and our brother-in-law who live right nearby. And they invited us to come once they had electricity, come and spend the night with us. And their three girls who are now grown women, but at the time, the two elder of the three were given instructions to take care of us. And they were all excited because we could sleep on the pull-out couch. At least it had heat. And they could sleep on the floor in their sleeping bags. They were
Nothing better.
excited.
That's
That
exciting.
made the interviewer smile.
That's exciting stuff.
You
You got to come back and tell us, share the rest of that story. So listen, we're going to wrap now, but certainly please come back. We got to talk about, as I said, well, the lentil soup, you got to make me a pot of that, not a bowl of pot, and some of those brownies. And we'll talk over soup and chocolate. What better? And maybe a glass of wine.
Absolutely. My fudge makes me friends everywhere.
I love it. So Gilda, thank you so much again. Wonderful having you, and let's get together again soon. God bless you, sweetheart. Peace.